G'day and welcome to this week's RacingBet preview ahead of a huge day of Group 1 racing in Australia over at Caulfield, where we have the Group 1 Futurity Stakes, the Blue Diamond, and of course the Oakleigh Plate. Triple header of Group 1 racing in Melbourne, as well as the Hobartville Stakes over at Rosehill in Sydney, and another good card at Ascot here in Perth. I'm your host, Tim Geers, joined by Trent Crebbin. We're going to take you through our best bets and our analysis for all the Group 1 races this weekend, which will be Saturday, the 20th of February. Trent's birthday, so he's looking forward to finding us some winners. Trent, how's things?
Yeah, very good. Like I said, birthday tomorrow, and hopefully the best present of all will be Arcadia Queen winning first up in the Futurity.
I was going to wait till later in the show to ask you about that, but you've gone right ahead and jumped straight into things. But we'll get into the Futurity later on. We'll start off with our best bets for Ascot, Rosehill, and then we'll get into your best bets at Caulfield, which coincide with the Group 1s. Bit of a rogue setup here for me this week. There's a bit going on. Carpet's going in the house, so we're out at the stable. So if you see a horse walk around in the background, don't be put off by it. We're set up in the stables this week, so a little bit of a different location, but we're doing our very best. And hopefully we can find you the winners regardless of where we are. Trent, we'll kick off over here in Perth for a change over at Ascot. I'm just going to pretty well fly through these best bets so that we can get into the main races on Saturday. But my best at Ascot comes up in race number 5. I'm with horse number 4, Plateau. He's currently $3.50. He comes off a really good run first up from a spell. I think that was at Pinjarra. He trialled well before that. Second up last preparation, he bolted in easily. I think with even luck here, he's going to be really hard to beat. The other horse in the race that I did think was potentially a little bit over the odds was Uncle Dick. I was with him first up from a spell. Interesting to note the tongue tie goes on for the first time here. I wouldn't be too put off by that first up run. I'd be willing to give him another chance with $8.50 on offer here. So they're the two I'm interested in playing in at Ascot as my best of the day. Race 5, number 4, Plateau, $3.50, and Uncle Dick currently $8.50. Think he'll start much shorter. My best value bet of the day. This is one I'm relatively keen on, actually. Race number 4, it's a staying race over 2,200 metres. And race number 7, staying race over 2,200 metres. I'm with horse number 4, Winnifer. $27, I think, is a massive price for this horse. It's got a very good record over this track and distance. It's had 6 starts for 2 wins and 2 placings. It was a winner over this track and distance 2 starts ago. It ran second over the track and distance the start prior to that. Just didn't handle Pinjarra last start. Was beaten a long way, finished near last. But Trevor Andrews reported after the race that he just doesn't think that horse handles Pinjarra. So if you put a line through that run, I think the $27 here is way over the odds. It actually beat a horse called Barramagic 2 starts ago when it won over the track and distance. And Barramagic's an $8 chance here, whereas Winnifer's $27. So more than 3 times the price. I think that's just an insane price. I'm happy to have a decent crack at Winnifer. So that's my best value of the day, race 7, number 4 at Ascot. We'll get over to Sydney, headlined by the Hobartville Stakes, the Group 2 for the 3-year-olds. Cracking little field for that one. But my best, I'm actually going to wait to the very last race of the day. My best bet is race 9, number 4, Laquine. This is a French import for Godolphin, making its Australian debut here. I think this horse is going to be exceptionally hard to beat off what we saw in the recent trial, where James McDonald basically came from the back of the field and just weaved his way through the field under absolutely no pressure, picked up lovely late, was beaten a length on the line to run second in its trial. Comes here first up from a spell over 1,400 metres. I really don't think this is a really deep field. So I think if he's got the talent, which I think he might, he's going to be extraordinarily hard to beat, just providing he does handle what's likely to be a very wet track at Rosehill on Saturday. So my best is race 9, number 4, Laquine. Currently $3.80 best price. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this horse go off in betting and start much shorter. Best value on the card at Rosehill is the race prior to that. Race 8, number 1, Handle the Truth. This is a Kosciuszko winner. He resumes from a spell today. He's got a terrific first up record. I think he's had 4 wins from 7 starts first up from a spell, and he's also very good in the wet. I think he's had 3 starts on heavy ground for 2 wins and a second placing or something along those lines. Again, this field does have a few decent horses in it, but I thought if he turned up anywhere near his best under these conditions, which he relishes, I think he can run a terrific race here at somewhere around $16. So just thought that was over the odds. The query is whether, they've got him wound up first up from a spell with the apprentice on board. But I really respect this horse's talent. I think he's got plenty of ability. And if he brings somewhere near his best here, I think he'll run a very good race at around $16. So best bet, race 9, number 4. Best value, race 8, number 1 at Rosehill. Okay, we've got those out of the way. Let's handball over to you at Caulfield, Trent, because we're going to get into these 3 Group 1 races, the Futurity Stakes, the Blue Diamond Stakes, and the Oakleigh Plate. We're going to start off with the Oakleigh Plate because your best bet comes up in that race, and it's the horse at the very bottom of the weights. This is race 8, horse number 18, Anders, currently $8. You've made him your best bet of the day at Caulfield.
Yeah, I have. I think he's probably the best betting proposition on the day. I'm just really keen on his chances. I thought he should probably be favourite here, Anders. You just have to forgive what he did in Melbourne as a 3-year-old. He just clearly wasn't right there. Started $1.35 in the Blue Sapphire, pulled up with issues, clearly wasn't at his best in the Coolmore. But you go back to his runs in Sydney, in the Rosebud and the San Domenico, where he really blew away some talented 3-year-olds. Ole Kirk-Peltzer left them looking second rate there when leading all the way. And he comes here first up off a really good Geelong trial. He led them up there, went to the line under a hold, won by 4 lengths in fast time. And I think if he's back to his best and brings what he did in Sydney as a 3-year-old, he can lead this field quite comfortably. I think he's the fastest horse here. He's got no weight on his back. He's going to go straight to the front from a wide barrier, which I like. And I think he can emulate what Pippi did last year and just really run them into the ground with a light weight. And I think $8 is a really good price.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be put off by that wide barrier either. Of course, he's drawn out in barrier 17, but I was looking back through the past winners of the Oakleigh Plate this morning, and I saw that 6 of the last 8 winners of this race have started from barriers 11 or wider. So quite often over this trip at Caulfield and in a race like this, drawing wide actually isn't a negative. So yeah, I agree with you. Down with 50 kilos, barrier 17, he looks to run very well. What do you think of a horse like Ancestry? I know you've had plenty of time for this horse.
Yeah, definitely. He's an obvious chance, and I think he'll run really well. He's probably the other on-speed runner. I think Anders will probably cross him from out wide. Ancestry will probably just sit just behind him, but I think he's a really good chance. He's been targeted at this race since he put up that picket fence last prep. Has to give Anders a little bit of weight, but he'll run really well again. I just thought Anders might be a touch too quick, and if he can cross Ancestry, he might not be able to run him down, but he'll run really well again.
Another horse that's drawn wide out in barrier 14 is Brooklyn Hustle. And I think I read somewhere last week that Jason Warren basically said to his training partner, get ready for winning your first Group 1 next week about this horse. So how do you expect her to line up here? She's got a very good first up record, 2 wins from 4 starts. And of course she was absolutely dominant first up last prep at Moonee Valley. How do you assess her chances in a race like this?
Yeah, she's a bit of a tricky one. That race, Moonee Valley, she was dominant, but she got the dream run up the inside. It was a BN78. She beat nothing there. Some of her other runs in Group 1 company after that, her run in the Moya Stakes was very good behind Pippi, coming from a long way back. I just think she's going to get a long way back here again. And even though they're going to go faster, it's not always an advantage because I think she's going to have to be chasing between, the 600 all the way through. And she's just going to be gassing out really late when Anders is off and gone. So I think she'll be running on again. It's just how big of a head start some of these horses are going to be giving this leader, and whether they can really sustain a 600-meter sprint at a high pressure for that whole final 600 meters.
I reckon the most interesting horse in the race, or at least the horse I'm looking forward most to seeing, is horse number 7, Celebrity Queen. Of course, a horse I know a lot about, being one of the Cerise and White runners from over here in Perth, the Bob Peters colours. She makes her first trip to the Eastern States, lines up here first up from a spell in the Oakleigh Plate. Undefeated first up from a spell, 3 from 3. She's undefeated at the distance, 2 from 2. I would have loved for her to have had a wide barrier draw. She comes out with barrier 3 here, so she's going to, probably be ridden off the speed and for luck. If she had drawn a little bit wider, I would have been pretty keen on her. And I think even still, I'm going to be having something on her because she was an unlucky second to Elite Street in the Group 1 over here not that long ago. Of course, Elite Street was poor in the Lightning last weekend, but he had excuses, as we found out after the race. And I reckon these Oakleigh Plates aren't necessarily that strong in terms of Group 1 form. And we've seen the WA form line up, time and time again in the East. So I'm really looking forward to her, hopefully just, zooming home late in the race off a hot tempo. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you completely there. I just thought barrier 3 was very tricky. I think she's probably going to be, 5-6 pairs back, probably on the fence, and she's really going to need a Pike special to get her home there. Pike obviously coming to Melbourne for this weekend of racing, so that's good to see him back. But yeah, he's going to need to pull out his very best on Celebrity Queen. She's a very good horse, and like you said, 3 from 3 first up, 2 from 2 at the trip. Probably should have won that Group 1. So I think she'll run really well. She's just going to need a lot of luck at the right times.
It's all happening over here. We've got horses behind me. I've got a dog barking, and I've got kids over the fence. So please excuse all the noise in the background. I hope it's not affecting Trent speaking too much. We'll move on to the Blue Diamond Stakes. Of course, the feature of the day at Caulfield. This is race number 7 on the card. And your best value bets come up in this race, Trent, because you're playing around the favourites. Of course, we found out this morning that Enthar has been passed fit to run. She's currently the $2.40 favourite. We'll get into your thoughts on her briefly, but you're with a few here at very good odds. Your top selection's at around $7.50, and you're also backing a couple at $35 and 200 to 1. So I'll pass over to you to take us through your thoughts on the Blue Diamond.
Yeah, I've been pretty keen on Anamoy for this race. Well, since his first up run, I had him on top there. He kind of got held up a bit and really attacked the line late behind General Bow. Just missed in a photo, which was a bit sick. But I think he's got a lot of improvement to come. We saw him in his first prep. He ran well first up, but he was unlucky. And then he really exploded second up over 1,000 meters to when he was held up again and really attacked the line. He looks like the horse that's really going to appreciate 1,200 meters out of a lot of these in this field. Getting up to 1,200 meters is really going to suit. And I think drawing out's really going to suit as well. He's always had to make his runs kind of along the inside of horses. And I really think he'll appreciate getting to the outside of a really fast tempo and attacking the line as we know he can. So I think he's a really good price. He's had a bit of support already. I posted my runner by runner preview on RacingBet yesterday, and he was around $10. So he's coming a little bit already. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him jump a clear second favourite behind Enthar, really.
What about the other two? We've got Construct at $35, and we've also got Hitotsu. That's what I'm going to go with at 200 to 1 plus.
Yeah, Construct I just thought was completely luckless in the same race as Anamoy last start. Wasn't a very good ride. He was snicked back from a wide barrier, tried to go for runs up the inside and never really got clear air at all. Kind of got out the last 150 meters and was really warming up late through the line. Here's another, I think, that'll appreciate 1,200 meters, can potentially settle a little bit closer from barrier 5. And I just thought off that run, we never really got to see what he could do. So I think he can definitely improve. And I think $35 is a good price to find out if he can make that improvement.
And Hitotsu?
And yeah, number 11, Hitotsu. I think he was coming out of the same race as well. So I'm really focusing that Colts and Geldings prelude. I think that's kind of the right form line to follow here. He was on debut there. Showed a lot of speed in his jump outs, and many thought he would go forward. He didn't. He kind of looked a little bit lost with all the race pressure. Went back, and he was actually the second fastest last 200 meters of that race behind Anamoy, which is not easy for a horse to do on debut off a fast tempo when he was never really knew what he was doing. So I just thought he's another one that's really going to appreciate 1,200 meters, and at 200 to 1, 250 to 1, you've only got to have a couple of dollars on. And I thought his was one of the better runs of that race, and he can only improve off of what he's done off his debut run. So at those crazy odds, I just thought he was worth having something on.
All right, and give us a very quick summation of your thoughts on the favourite Enthar.
Definitely the horse to beat. 2 1,000 meter runs, has to step up to the 1,200. That's the obvious query. She's going to have to do a bit of work early because there is quite a bit of speed inside her and outside her. So it's where she gets to on the map. And you don't love to see the comments about her pulling lateness before the race. I think Kira Mars said, yeah, her issues, like not her action's not completely right, but she'll be fine for the race, which it doesn't really fill you with much confidence going into a Group 1.
Yeah, $2.40 favourite.
Yeah. So there's enough knocks on her really to take her on here. I think she's still the horse to beat. Obviously, she's a very talented filly, but I just thought at the price, there's no real value there, and yeah, I was happy enough to take her on here.
All right, we'll move on to the other Group 1 on the day. It is the Group 1 Futurity Stakes. We get one of your girlfriends here and one of mine as well, of course, Arcadia Queen. She is an absolute superstar. Before I pass over to you, I'm fascinated to see how she runs, not only first up here, but also what she produces this prep, because we knew going into last prep, she'd come into it off a long time off the track from an injury. She wore bar plates the entire preparation, basically, except for when they took them off on race day late in the prep. That's when we really saw her at her best. This time in, they brought her back to Perth. She's had a decent little spell. She came to the trial. She won her trial easily. and she doesn't. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see her having the bar plates on. So to me, that's a scary proposition, her coming into, a fresh preparation with her feet as good as they've been, in a long time, given what she was able to produce in the spring with dodgy feet.
Yeah, definitely. No, she doesn't have the bar plates on, so I think it's all systems go there. The only slight knock was that she did miss one trial, just with the COVID situation in WA a couple of weeks ago, but going to be a lot better. And she didn't even run badly first up last prep over this track and distance. She was only beaten 2.5 lengths on a wet track with bar plates on. So I really think we're going to see the best of her this prep with a proper preparation under her belt. And even though 1400 meters is definitely short of her best, I just think she's probably the best horse in this race. Well, she is the best horse in this race, in my opinion. And I just thought she was actually over the odds here. I think she opened up about $7 or so. I just thought that for the best in the race on a dry track, and we know that how good she is when she's right. I just thought she was probably the wrong price here. So I've actually got her on top, which will probably come as no shock to many, but maybe there's a bit of blinkers on there, but I just thought she was the wrong price.
And $6 currently. So, in a field like this where there's only 10 runners, you're getting paid for first three across the line, and she's probably somewhere around. I'm just quicking checkly. I'll spit it out soon. We're getting even money for the place, so $6 and $2 for the place. You'd be expecting a horse of her quality, given what we've just said, to be running top three at least.
Yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, she's going to be going back from the wide gate, and I think she'll be fine off any kind of slow or fast tempo. We see what she did off slow tempos last prep, and we've seen what she can do off a fast tempo as a 3-year-old. So no matter how they run it, she's going to be really strong late. She's going to be attacking the line, and I think she'll be running really well. And if she gets close to them here, if she gets within 1 or 2 lengths of them here hitting the line, I don't see what beats her in the All-Star Mile, with a few of these horses already having had a run under their belt.
Yeah, can't wait for that race. Of course, the voting came out today. She topped the top 10 with the most votes of any runner. So looking forward to that in a few weeks' time. And certainly looking forward to seeing what she can do on the weekend. Take us through your thoughts on a few of the other runners high up in the market. We've got the likes of Behemoth, who's currently at $3.20, Probabeel at $3.60, and even Ole Kirk around the $7 mark.
I think Behemoth's the horse to beat. He's the one I would mark favourite. I loved his run first up in Adelaide. He smashed the clock late, really attacked the line over 1100 metres. Did a similar thing last prep in the Spring Stakes, beating Dallasan, and then he came to Melbourne and won the the Memsey over 1400 metres this track and distance in a really dominant display. So I think he's probably the horse to beat at this track and distance. Just needs to jump well from barrier 2 to give himself every chance. I thought Probabeel was potentially just the weak spot in the market a little bit. I'd mark her a little bit longer. Loved the win first up. Loved how well she was backed. I just thought, she's beating up a bunch of fairly average Group 3 listed kind of quality mares. So she was probably entitled to do that, whether she was not quite fit, regardless of whether she was fit or not, really. And she hasn't really proven herself in weight for age company. Like, she's obviously a Group 1 horse, but I just thought out of her own, like, all her Group 1 wins have been in an Epsom, in a handicap, or in her own age group. So I think she'll run really well again. I just want to see her take that next step. And I thought she was just perhaps a little bit too close to Behemoth in the market.
Okay, so Arcadia Queen on top for you. Can anything else win outside of what we've just mentioned?
Ole Kirk can definitely win. I like the first up run. Barrier 1's quite sticky. I think he's going to be back and buried on the fence. So yeah, I was kind of just playing around him, and it really wouldn't shock if Streets of Avalon won another Caulfield 1400 meter Group 1 if conditions are favouring on paces, just because he's so tough to get past. But I think Behemoth's the horse to beat. I'll be having something on him and something on Arcadia Queen. I think that's probably the way to play the races, to back those two, the better result if Arcadia Queen wins.
Yep, Arcadia Queen each way for me in the Futurity. You can find Trent's runner-by-runner preview of the day's feature, the Group 1 Blue Diamond Stakes, on racingbet.com.au, and he'll have a full race-by-race preview of the Blue Diamond meeting at Caulfield, also on racingbet.com.au. He's also got you sorted for Moonee Valley tonight. It never stops these weekends. There's plenty of racing and plenty of winners to be found. I'll be covering Rosehill, the Hobartville Stakes meeting, as well as Ascot, and Josh will be covering Brisbane as per usual. Everything can be found on racingbet.com.au. Trent, I've got to duck off to the sales. We're hoping to buy a little cheapie over at the Magic Millions, day 2. There was a Russian Revolution that got sold for 325,000 yesterday, probably about 300,000 more than our budget can afford. But if you are interested in being a part of the journey, we're going to look to go pick up a little one at the sales. And if you want to be a part of it, flick me an email, tim@beforeyoubet.com.au. There's still spaces available. We've had a really good and positive response since I sent the tweet out a week or two ago. And if you want to be part of it, get in touch. Looking forward to it, and hopefully we can pick something up over at Magic Million Sales. Trent, we'll speak to you next weekend. Best of luck on Saturday at Caulfield and also at the Valley tonight. And head on over to RacingBet.com.au to find all the winners.